The story begins by telling us that a long time ago, there were terrible and cruel demons called Oni. The Oni killed people and destroyed everything in their path. But there was someone who stopped them. Yay! His name was Momotaro, a man who went to Onigashima Island and defeated many Oni, starting an endless battle. And in the present day, we are introduced to our protagonist, Shiki Ichinose, a student with a clear affinity for firearms. He receives a call and laughs, remarking that he was expelled from school without an ounce of regret for it whatsoever. He even seems to find it amusing. After ending the call, he wonders what he should do now that he's been expelled, but decides he doesn't care. The Stranger anime version. Just then, his father, Tsuyoshi Ichinose, enters the room, smacks him on the head, and angrily scolds him for his school expulsion. Shiki quickly backs away and defends himself, clearly not understanding why he's being hit. His father sets that aside for a moment as he observes his room, noticing that the walls are completely filled with weapons. He complains that Shiki keeps collecting such dangerous things and reminds him that they run a liquor store, so they don't sell weapons. Shiki gets irritated by the comment, saying it's none of his business, and mentioning that it seems he's lost another supplier. This catches his father off guard, but Tsuyoshi tells him not to meddle in adult affairs. Shiki tells him he's pretty pathetic for an adult, but his father scoffs, reminding him that he got expelled, which makes him just as pathetic. They're a family of two pathetic people. This angers Shiki, and more seriously, he clarifies he'll never be like him, and luckily, they don't even share the same blood. Tsuyoshi is taken aback and tries to warn him not to utter such words, but at that very moment, he receives a call from the business, leaving Shiki by himself. Shiki stays in his room, and from there, he sees his father leaving the liquor store to make a delivery. With some resentment, he comments that if he was going to be adopted anyway, he would have at least preferred someone rich. With nothing else to do, Shiki aims a gun he assembled himself at a target on his wall and with great concentration slowly pulls the trigger. However, as he does, he hears a huge explosion behind him, so he looks out his window to see what happened. The smoke prevents him from seeing clearly, but before he can react, a dark mist shoots in his direction, grabs him by the foot, and throws him out of his house. As he gets up, Shiki is frozen when he sees a man with a killer aura in front of him. This man asks for his name, but before he can answer, a speeding car runs the man over, getting him out of the way. Tsuyoshi drives the car, tells his son to get in immediately. Clearly shocked and confused, Shiki gets into the car and leaves with his father. Tsuyoshi seems very stressed while driving and comments that it looks like they have no choice but to flee the country. Shiki still doesn't get what the heck is going on, but he's pretty shaken up, so he asks if his dad borrowed money from the mob, because even so, they don't have to try and kill him like that. His father cuts him off and clarifies that the man isn't dead, though Shiki can't believe it. Tsuyoshi then decides they're out of time, so he warns him that he's only going to explain this once, so he better listen up. And he reveals that Shiki has Oni blood, and that guy from before has Momotaro blood. This is really hard for Shiki to believe, but before his father can explain more, the dark mist catches up to them again, slicing through the car's roof. Tsuyoshi dodges these attacks, but the entire car is soon covered by the mist, affecting its mechanics. Shiki jumps out of the car with his father, and seconds later, it explodes. The explosion makes Tsuyoshi lose sight of his son, but the dark mist from before leads him to an abandoned warehouse. Here, we see Shiki suspended in the air, immobilized by that mist. The man from before appears in front of him, completely unharmed, and tells him that because he has Oni blood, he's a plague upon humanity. He introduces himself as Samidare Momoya, a Momotaro agency member, tasked with exterminating plagues like him. Shiki can't even comprehend how he's still alive, since he saw his father run him over right before his eyes. Just then, Tsuyoshi enters and explains that the legend of Momotaro is real. For thousands of years, Momotaro and the Oni have been fighting for generations, while both their bloodlines grew. At some point, the descendants of Momotaro gathered and formed the Momotaro Agency. The Oni feared the Momotaro Agency and began to live among humans. Shiki asks what kind of story this is, but his father tells him to stay put, as the adults will handle this now. Without hesitation, Samidare rushes him, launching a full-speed attack, but Tsuyoshi deftly counters with his own dark mist sword, successfully blocking the blow. As they fight, Samidare comments that the black mist is a trait exclusive to the descendants of Momotaro. Here we discover that Shiki's father is actually named Tsuyoshi Momowara and is a former member of the Momotaro Agency. Tsuyoshi, angered by being called by that name, clarifies his last name is now Ichinose. Samidare replies that changing his name doesn't change the fact that he's still a Momotaro, and surely he hasn't forgotten how dangerous. Years, he'd be eliminated alongside him. Tsuyoshi won't let that happen, so he attacks once more without hesitation. But Samidare blocks his sword, dodges with agility, taking distance for a different kind of counterattack. While they fight mercilessly, Shiki watches everything in a state of shock, clearly confused by everything he's just discovered all at once. Samidare then asks why he's protecting an Oni, knowing it's just a monster that harms people. Tsuyoshi tells him to shut up, and Shiki just keeps wondering why his father didn't tell him all this sooner. It would have been good to know that before some guy with a machete showed up. Just as Tsuyoshi launches a fatal attack, Samidare seizes the opportunity to change position in a matter of seconds, managing to strike his blind spot. After sustaining 2 mortal wounds, Tsuyoshi falls to the ground and bleeds out quickly, causing Shiki to let out a heart-wrenching scream because he truly loved him. Samidare asks if he really thought he could win, even after all the times he escaped death since he left. Without losing a moment, he goes for Shiki, but Tsuyoshi uses his last strength to grab his foot, trying to stop him. Once again, Samidare asks him why he's protecting that Oni, but Tsuyoshi tells him not to underestimate a father and clarifies that it's because that bastard is his precious son. He then asks if he really plans to kill an innocent child just because he has Oni blood, even though he's done nothing and doesn't even know what's happening. Samidare doesn't want to hear any more of his words, so he creates a mist sword to end his life once and for all. Shiki watches the scene before him, not understanding why all of this is happening to his father, since he was supposed to be the target. This fills him with uncontrollable rage, and his eyes swiftly transform to a vivid crimson red as tears of blood stream down his face. With the intent to kill, Shiki's blood transforms his body into something that not even he understands. Samidare is surprised to see that Shiki has vanished, and in less than a second, he's targeted by 3 cannons that fire a shower of bullets. After blocking a torrent of bullets with his sword, the attack abruptly ceases, prompting Samidare to scan his surroundings for the person responsible. That's when he finally spots Shiki on the roof, having taken on his full Oni form, meaning he has truly awakened. Samidare knows that Oni fight using blood manipulation, but that's not what's truly terrifying. The reason for killing Oni is their predisposition to fall into a frenzy, completely losing all self-control and destroying everything around them. This is what has happened to Shiki, so he immediately starts blocking his attacks. However, when he creates some distance, Shiki transforms his blood into countless firearms, uncontrollably shooting bullets at him. Samidare blocks them with his sword, but is forced to dodge when Shiki fires a missile at him. This leaves him breathless, but with no time to recuperate, Samidare must flee to evade the subsequent assaults. The next thing he does is jump into the air to take him by surprise, but Shiki kicks him, smashing him against the wall. Once he falls to the ground, Shiki steps on his head to immobilize him and aims his firearms at him once more. The attack he unleashes is so incredibly potent that a warehouse wall is utterly decimated, exposing them to the elements. Samidare emerges from the rubble after losing a large amount of blood, but Shiki collapses to the ground, unable to fight anymore, completely exhausted. His Oni form then dissolves, leaving behind only the 2 horns on his head and blood staining his hands. Shiki doesn't understand what exactly transpired, leading Samidare to assume he's bewildered by the memory loss and his body's mutation. Faced with this, he decides that death is the ultimate solution for this terror, as all Oni must be eliminated. Defenseless, Shiki faces Samidare, who charges with his sword, intent on ending his life. Obviously, Shiki is unable to dodge that attack, but just when he thinks it's all over, he is stunned to see that his father took the fatal blow to save him, which leaves him in a state of profound shock. Samidare doesn't seem surprised and asks him if, even after seeing that Oni, he can still say his decision was the right one. As he rapidly bleeds out, Tsuyoshi remembers Shiki as a child, and with a smile, he tells him he was happy until the very end. That's not the answer he expected, yet upon noticing several people outside alerted by the warehouse's condition after the battle, Samidare opts to disappear without a trace. Shiki tries to stop him, but seeing he's already gone, he focuses on his father on the ground, clearly terrified of his condition. His father's in grave condition, so Shiki thinks to call an ambulance, but Tsuyoshi stops him, saying he's fine and wants them to talk calmly, at least in the end. His father apologizes for not telling him anything, knowing he must be very confused. Shiki tells him not to worry about that, as his current state is much more critical. Still, his father keeps talking while he can, explaining that he just couldn't tell his beloved son he would be killed just because Oni blood runs through his veins. Tsuyoshi tells him he can't stay by his side anymore, so he must become stronger. He must become strong enough that neither Momotaro himself nor the very blood of the Oni can vanquish him, ensuring nothing stands in the way of his future happiness. Tsuyoshi smiles, saying this is what they call a promise between men, but to his surprise, his son yells and tells him to things, and he cannot dare to surrender and simply give up on this, since he himself won't give up. What he wants is to talk to him about the future that awaits them both, as he firmly believes he will live. After being surprised, his father smiles one last time and closes his eyes, losing what little strength he had left. In his final moments, he thinks that if only the Momotaro and the Oni could live like this, shoulder to shoulder, it would be wonderful. Finally, his body falls to the ground, leaving his son disconcerted and confused. Shiki tries to wake him up, not wanting to believe that his father has lost his life right before his eyes. Panicked, he exclaims that he still hasn't apologized for having told him that he was glad they weren't of the same blood, so he must wake up if he wants to hear his apology. Shiki pleads for him to wake, promising that once he apologizes, he can tease him as before, and things will return to normal. Yet, despite all his efforts to elicit a response, Tsuyoshi lies motionless and lifeless on the ground, a peaceful smile etched upon his face. Gradually, Shiki grasps the truth that his father is truly gone, causing his voice to falter and tears to well up and stream down. Shiki collapses in front of his father's lifeless body, and when he finally understands he won't come back, he lets him rest on the ground while he silently mourns his father's death. A mysterious person on skates appears behind him and says that this place will attract attention. Before Shiki can react or shoot him, this person lands a precise blow to the nape of his neck, knocking him out in seconds without him being able to do anything. Shiki quickly falls unconscious to the ground, and the guy who knocked him out approaches him. He doesn't seem impressed that Shiki let him attack from behind so easily, and because of this, he says he's lost points. In another scene, we see a group of what appear to be 5 mummies gathering to talk about what happened. One of them comments that the foolish Samidar failed and complains that he always acts on his own without consulting anyone, which he finds unacceptable and pathetic. He remarks that the Momotaro have become weaker lately, but another one tells him there's nothing that can be done. After all, they must prevent their existence from being discovered by people. Another one clarifies that it's not necessary to instill fear in people by exposing the existence of the filthy Oni, and that's why they have to kill that Oni spawn before he can wake up. The current priority is to locate the Oni concealed within the human world and eradicate them completely, once and for all. Meanwhile, the person who took Shiki speaks to someone else on the phone, mentioning that they've approved candidates, which the other person finds quite unusual. Everyone knows he hasn't approved anyone in recent years, so they want to know what he saw this time. After all, they say that after several bad harvests comes abundance. The guy clarifies that they still don't know what will happen, but in response, the other person notes that his voice sounds a bit emotional. Therefore, he just hopes he can train them to be strong enough so they don't die, because it seems to him